Welcome to staff meeting. We are covering a bunch of new projects on Non-Productive today. I'm excited about it. Also, there's E3. We kind of forgot about that. Everybody in the world
E3 almost forgot about E3. Sony forgot about E3.
we have like a handful of things hastily thrown together for E3.
Yeah.
I'm Frank, as you could tell by my lower thirds, and Al is Al, as you could tell by his lower thirds. Hi, Al. How you doing?
Hanging in.
Good. Yes, we're doing a light staff meeting. It's just going to be Al and I tonight, focusing on a project that I asked Al to work on. I think like 3 weeks ago is when I first bridged this subject up for you. But before we do that, let's waste time talking about M.O.D.O.K. And in honor of M.O.D.O.K, let's uncomfortably zoom in on our faces. That's it. Way too much real estate.
There we go.
I finished I guess Robot Chicken created. I don't know how to. It's not really Robot Chicken created. It's some of the people
the stop
behind
motion styled television show, I guess. Right.
Yeah. It's a show on Hulu. For those of you who don't know, show on Hulu for a Marvel property. Pretty rare these days for Marvel to be producing shows with other production companies and not in home on Disney, but you could tell why. This is a pretty like blue humor kind of show. It had mixed reviews on our fan club. Some people liked it, some people really didn't like it. I was kind of riding the fence. Al, did you actually see it? We did talk about this.
I saw a couple of episodes and then sort of decided I don't want to devote so much time to watching it, so I just kind of went ahead and watched a few clips on YouTube and says like that's enough for me.
That may be the worst way to watch it. If you thought it was a little like Robot Chicken-y or clippy before, it's probably worse on YouTube. I'm assuming those are like the highlights of the most gaggy of gags that they've done.
Pretty much, and like highlights of the few like emotional beats, but out of context,
I'm not sure if it does.
Exactly right. Yeah,
I think maybe the first 3 or so episodes are a little tough to swallow, and it's just the setting is not quite that. It's not my cup of tea. It wasn't quite my cup of tea, but by the end of this series, or I guess season, maybe, hopefully, fingers crossed for you folks on M.O.D.O.K. But by the end of that first season, I thought it told a compelling story. It painted a pathetic but interesting villain. He was more pathetic in the beginning, but got more interesting towards the end. He was a failure as a father, which is, sounds like either too deep or like too gaggy, too jokey. But it rode that line for like maybe the first 3 or 4 episodes, and then it runs like there's 4 or 5 times I thought it was the last episode. I think the last 3 or 4 episodes all felt like finales, but it kept on going, and it really did get better every episode, and it ended super strong. I really did enjoy the show.
I did hear that it had a really good, solid finale, and it certainly does leave it open to like, oh, where's this going from here?
Yeah, they did not attempt to make this like ambiguous. And like the last episode doesn't really serve as a finale for a series. You know how some shows do that, where like you can kind of, or even like there's a scene at the very end that maybe keeps it open ended. No, this really does feel like a cliffhanger. They need to finish the story.
Leaves a bit to be desired there.
I guess, yeah. I mean, they definitely had confidence, or else they were like, listen, we're not gonna. If this show doesn't take off and it isn't really good, it's either because of some sort of licensing agreement that falls apart with Marvel, or it's because it tanks so bad that no one's really going to care, and we're going to have our like elite fans who are going to follow us at conventions for the next 20 or 30 years.
M.O.D.O.K. season 2, everybody.
Yes, yeah, and so I highly recommend it for people who are on the fence this entire time. We should probably mention that comments are open. You could join us at any time. In fact, our first comment right here, Elise, that it really did. I think we talked about it on the fan club like 2 or 3 times, and almost every time it was like, oh yeah, this. It was almost as if it was a gag. I think it's because it looks like a Robot Chicken, like 5-minute or 5-second parody, right?
It
It looks
does a
like
little bit. Like it has
was
a lot of the it has a little less of an action figure feel to it, for lack of a better term, but it has all of the like comedy style, like the direction of it is very Robot Chicken.
yeah, it's super influenced. Certain characters, the most kind of intolerable characters, the ones the guy who was in charge of their stand-in for Google, who buys out AIM, spoiler alert for like the first episode, is so insufferable. It's so hard to listen to him talk, which is kind of the point, but like he is very much like a Robot Chicken executive character, you know.
Yeah.
Speaking of toys, I am now on the hunt for M.O.D.O.K toys. I am surprised how little they were ever officially made. There was like a pretty expensive one that came out recently, who I don't know anything about. Diamond Select maybe was the one who I can't remember off the top of my head.
It was Legends. Marvel Legends had a
Legends
M.O.D.O.K come out.
Yeah.
Earlier this year.
Yeah,
I think like $50. I think was what it was about.
Yeah, and it's pretty. It really is nice. But I
it's a nice figure.
I want something kind of really toy-y, and I can't find. There is one from I think an Iron Man line or some Marvel line.
There was another one back
I think in 90s.
Marvel Legends Past where Toy Biz did a Build-A-Figure of M.O.D.O.K.
That might be what I'm looking for, but that's not what I was thinking of. This is the one that had a like little hologram plate in it, and it's okay. But this might be my first make my own M.O.D.O.K figure, because I'm not very happy. Well, it would definitely be my first make my own M.O.D.O.K. I haven't made 1,000 M.O.D.O.Ks. Don't look into this, folks. But maybe my first make my own figure. I've got a couple ideas on how to do this, and apparently just no end of free time. So yeah, I recommend it. Al, if you ever get a chance, go back and watch all 47 episodes of this damn show.
I'll see if I can borrow Hulu from someone else again.
That's right. I mean, you mean get a free subscription. Because,
yeah.
And we have this call to action. Use promotion code non-pro. No, we don't have that. Blue Apron. We'll do Blue Apron ads and then eventually pay for it. All right. So, let's talk about this big secret project publicly on the internet. A few weeks ago, I asked you to research putting a team together, which sounds so cool. To do
when
a
you
podcast.
Put it like that, it definitely sounds cool. Yeah.
What's the podcast about? What did I ask for?
You were looking for a video game podcast. We've mentioned this a couple times in staff meetings about where we want to go with a video game podcast, and so I've gotten a couple other people together to try and get something because we're trying to find something that just differentiate ourselves from every other video game podcast out there, so that we find a niche that we can sort of gravitate towards or catch ourselves in and work well enough. And we sort of threw together a bunch of older non-pro ideas that we had, and way back, if you go look in Non-Pro's YouTube history, you'll see us attempting Let's Plays.
We still get comments on those, and I'm like, what is this about? Why are people looking up Wolfenstein 3D Let's Plays? And also, why did we do it like 5 years ago?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Like we were trying to do like gaming through the 90s or something like that, and we're just grabbing like, games of that year we felt were iconic. So what we're trying for right now is to do something a little similar, and just sort of grab a year and grab a game from that year that we can sort of all sit around the table and talk about, and like ones that two of us haven't played that one of us has, and be like, all right, we're in the year 1991, and this is what culture was like. This is what gaming culture was like back in 1991. And here's the game I want you guys to play. And the two of us that haven't are going to go, and we're going to sit back and come back and give our combined feelings on the game about like someone who's revisiting and two people that are coming into it, not having played it before.
I like that. That's a refinement of the gimmick I haven't heard yet. So I'm a big fan of gimmicks. I need something to latch onto, or otherwise it's like another video game podcast, which is probably the name of a video game podcast. It's probably the name of several video game another video game podcast.
Another video game,
whole another. But yeah, so like if there's not like a thing to latch onto, like infamously Near Mint's gimmick is that we rank. We re-rate them as if we're like a buying guide would, and there are 3 people and etc. Even Best of 3 had that kind of mechanic. I like the year mechanic that we've played with before in movie reviews, where we take a year and dissect it. But I especially like the idea, and other people have either never played it, or maybe if you're going to be a little bit more generous with yourself and your spare time, don't have much experience with it is good enough. Fake it because you're like, I really want to do Super Mario Brothers. We've all played it a little bit, but yeah, I guess.
But you never know. Like, we might come a time when like maybe 2 of us have played like Super Mario Brothers 3, but like one of us haven't. Maybe we can spend some of that time talking about like. And then there was this movie. It was called The Wizard. It was like a whole giant Nintendo commercial.
I find that's more and more that's happening as I get to be more and more of an old fart. I'm talking about something like, well, we all know about this thing, and then it's like, no, we are 20, we are in our 20s. This movie is 40 or years old. We do not know it. And then I tell Jordy to shut the hell up. Deep cut. Leave a comment if you're Jordy. No, but there's been a couple of occasions where like, I don't know the thing you're talking about. Then I start like growing a beard in real time, and it's sad.
Kids to get off your lawn.
I wither. I become old, and no one can. Old dusty, or you mean more so? Obviously, I already am very dusty.
But yeah, so we're working on recording the pitch for it. Like, so with the podcast, we'll start out with someone being like, here's the game that I'm bringing to the table for the year we're talking about. And then we all like, okay, well, we're going to report back after we've played it. Then we come back and we're like, okay, this is what we thought.
Yeah, I think it's great. I would love to. I like to do that. Now, I had originally suggested or offered, I floated, maybe that's the best word for it, that since I feel extremely aged, and I'm going to highlight another Elise comment right now because it's worth highlighting. I'm 30 or 40 years old and I do not need this. True. But I'm, again, utterly decrepit. And I can't seem like, we're going to go through a bunch of E3 news, and I can't seem to get like excited about anything anymore, or like I know I suck. I bought Resident Evil Village recently. Is that that's relatively new. And I was like, all right, this is for my nephew, who I think just turned 17 or 16, 17. So I'm like, all right, cool. I invested in Google Stadia. Write me a letter about how stupid I am. I actually really enjoy the concept of the platform, and I think it plays pretty fine. And I'm not going to invest in a dedicated system or upgrading hardware or any of that. So it's pretty good for a filthy casual like me. And as I'm trying to play Resident Evil Village, I am literally walking into a snowbank for minutes. Just like, not like I'm just walking around for minutes, like just can't stop walking into the wall. Can't figure it out. So bad. I'm just so clumsy about any of this. So I'm desperately trying to get in like intro, because I do think like that's a huge chunk of entertainment media that we don't look into at all, because we just don't, or maybe that's because of me. So I'm like, if what I floated was that I would be old man coming in to review one really ridiculously old, decrepit thing, an episode like your Andy Rooney on 60 Minutes, where I don't know, I would even do a video like, kids today don't have a strafe button. What's that about? And then that's it. I don't know if that would be useful at all for this.
I think it would be if you showed up with like, and here's Ultima Exodus.
Oh my god, Ultima. Yeah, I remember Ultima games. Okay, cool. I could do that. Yeah. I just got an At Games. This is probably not a good advertisement for them because I just announced how old and stupid I am. But At Games Mini Legend is what I think it's called. It's like a Bluetooth joystick, effectively, with like it connects to like a little. I'm assuming it's an Android box that has a bunch of emulators on it, and I know emulators are horrible, but I own those games because, as I said, I do not know how to play new games. Just can't learn anything new anymore. And all I do is power up Pac-Man. I'm like, all right, I can do this. My son is looking at me across the room, just shaking his head, going, "Even I know this is stupid." But yeah, well, we'll figure it out. Yeah, see, good. This is actually the things we should just invite Elise onto the show. Cyberpunk 2077 on Stadia is the thing that kind of put it on its map. One, because if you pre-ordered, you got a free I think it's called Stadia Pro. You got the Chromecast Ultra and the controller, which basically paid for itself, more than paid for itself. And because we're like, it shat the bed on every other platform. On Stadia, it did apparently pretty well. I missed that. I missed Cyberpunk 2077, but I did get the Resident Evil deal. So
I'm hoping that game gets some of the updates that it needs.
Which one?
Kind of been, shame. Like it's just been very buggy. 2077.
2077. Yeah. It's apparently it's not good on most systems, but it got many updates through Stadia. And was relatively smooth on Stadia the entire time because, of course, Google Stadia, you're not using your own machine. You're using this cloud service that Google provides. I can't say go out and like if you have a little bit of expendable income, it's I think worth it. But if you're like a big invested gamer, then maybe not. I keep wanting to stream on YouTube. Even that is a little clunky, which is weird because it's Google, but it's a little clunky. It's like if you use all of Google's technology, all you could do is stream the game. You can't say anything. But if you put it through like OBS or something, I'm like, well, then why did I invest in you? Clearly so that I could play Pac-Man Mania, which is free if you have Google Stadia Premiere.
There you go.
Weird commercial.
Absolutely worth it.
Yes, free on most platforms. So I love the concept. Can you tell us who is potentially going to be on the show as cast members or staff members? Or
sure. Like we're going to try and give a little bit of a couple rotating cast members. It's obviously returning cast member Kit, who you've had on a number of our shows Kit in the past. So he'll be one of the main cast members, and another friend that I have, Falana, will be on that. And we'll have and we're going to try and have a few other like people from just non-pro or elsewhere just come in when they can, and
it fits. Like the concept does make a lot of sense to have somebody who comes up on Falana. Do I remember them from anywhere?
No, not yet. We haven't had them on a show yet.
Okay, all right. I wasn't sure. I may be just Facebook stalking, or I've seen comments or something, or
probably.
Yeah, probably. I'm a big creep that way. All right, cool. I'm excited about this. What can our audience do to help you? What questions do you have for the maybe 10 people who are watching right now?
Give us. I would say at this point it would probably be helpful to give years that you have a lot of like memory and
announce years.
Yeah, like really, like what this year in gaming, I really want you to cover. Pick a thing and like run with it, and like because one of us will have to pick a video game that they're really passionate about. They want to like, no, we got to play this, and like so. But like, if anyone can give any suggestions, like they're always really helpful.
I have so many stupid suggestions. This is why I shouldn't. This is
no. I think stupid suggestions are good though, because like it's not fun if every time we come to the table, it's like, and this was awesome because like it's like have things that are weird or like kind of bad, but like learned so much from and stuff like that.
So I have. God, it's going to be impossible for me to find it off the top of my head. So one of the things I was like, oh, I want you to play some game that's really, really, really old. And like really dive into what games were, because I'm fascinated by the initial creation of like early video games and why they were so influential and popular, and up to like the boom, right? When things like people were just throwing things against the wall and seeing what stuck. I love that.
Chase the Chuck Wagon, Custer's Revenge, all that really weird, obscure stuff.
Or even things a little bit earlier than that when people were really just experimenting with the forum, trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. The game and the same thing goes with tabletop gaming, where I'm like the early age of even in anything with any game, they like the early Forge games are really fun to look into. If you're talking about the TSR boom, then all the early like weird games that never really made it are fun. And for video games, I was thinking, yeah, we could probably like look into like some of these early predecessors for things, or things that were just dead ends. But specifically, and I'm really looking for the title, I can't remember it. Recently, a friend of mine shared an article. It's a long read, so I've been reading it over like the course of a couple of days. Also because I'm dumb and it takes me a while to read things. It is an early text adventure that was like the first quasi BDSM role-playing queer text adventure.
Oh God, yes, it's
it was about like girls in a boarding school, and I don't know if this is it. And I think maybe light on the BDSM because it's just the boarding school nature of it. But specifically, yeah, because you know everything kind of you prep people's minds, imaginations when you just do the tags and the sub. What was really interesting about it was that it was like created by like a queer commune, and had like early like theory. It's a really interesting article. I haven't finished yet, and I've not played the game, but like that's something I would love to see people try to play now and just see whether it like blows your mind or is kind of underwhelming but impressive for a historical artifact.
Yeah.
If anybody remembers that, drop it into the to the chat. I might pull it up.
Biggest memory of this thing, and I not that I've played it, but like that it's been in conversation before, and I just can't remember to save my life.
So the article must have been shared probably a couple of weeks ago, and then I'm sure it's been spread around as news. So in our limited circle, and I actually know it from like LARP designers, because there was a real world element to this as well. There was an actual place that people got together to build these games and to role play as boarding school people in this story. And it's fascinating to see people build the bridge as they go, like we're doing on staff meeting, where we don't really know what the hell this is, but we're doing it. And as it goes on, it develops. I think that will be a lot of fun. I can't wait to get into it. I feel like we need to pay the bills a little bit. We've been going on for about a half hour, but we promised people E3 coverage. So you want to do our very limited E3 coverage of the year of this is a historic E3. This is the first virtual E3, right?
And it's also the year without Sony. Their first year without Sony at E3, which is crazy, but
yeah, I think we're going to see more and more of that as time goes on.
You're probably not wrong. Like Nintendo sort of vaguely cut out a number of years back, but still appears virtually with the Nintendo Directs and so on and so forth. But they cut out physically a few years back. So I imagine that was their half step out the door, and there's probably going to be a few more steps out the door as time goes on. So
I mean, live events are hit hard right now, but more than ever before. But like any other industry, we just hope that it flexes and the good stuff and the good people who are working in that industry find a place to land on their feet and something cool to produce. But yeah, it's weird, and it's also a different environment. Like when E3 first started, no Twitter, right? You're not getting these news drops every day at random parts you get today. So it's kind of weird that it's kind of odd that E3 still has the power that it does.
Yeah,
I'm sure it'll survive in some form, probably not even virtually. This was first and maybe last year, but so it was an odd one, and we're going to cover it in as odd a way as we can. So just some weird, I guess, news stories that hit us. Do you have one to share to begin with?
I'm like really excited about the Breath of the Wild 2 trailer, because we had that one a couple of years back, and it was not a lot to go on. And this is at least has some more stuff to go on. The Link just doing the free fall out of the sky thing that's harkens way back to Skyward Sword. which apparently is also getting a Switch port. So like that was a lot of E3, but we'll touch on that later, was porting. But I mean, hey, I'm excited. I like a lot of people like Breath of the Wild. I'm happy the brand is doing well, so much so that we've gotten a direct sequel to a Zelda game, which rarely, if ever, happens.
That is a good point.
So, yeah, I'm pretty excited. Like, I want to see where this goes. There's a big ominous floating castle in the horizon. What's up with that?
This is short enough where I don't mind sharing the entire thing as soon as it plays. I don't know why this is taking so long. You could see all my suggested videos now. No, you can't. Take a moment. All right, sorry about that. So yeah, this is the one we're talking about.
Yeah.
Again, very clumsily done, but it's not the
very non-pro of us. We're doing.
Yeah.
That looks so creepy.
Oh, good buffering.
Oh well, there we go. Live buffering, everybody.
That's just a copyright protection thing we installed. First of all, Kid Icarus. Second of all, what if he just goes splat? What if that's what the extended trailer is? Yep. It's just him hitting. Well, one thing for sure
is it really does.
It does. Aw.
What I'm a bit nervous about is I'd really hate it if this was like you lose all your powers and after you regain them again, it's like, oh, but that wasn't.
Oh, at the start?
Yeah. Which I guess there's no other way to do it than to tend to do that because, but still, like, ooh.
It really is pretty. I really like that a lot. I would play that game or watch somebody else play it for me. Yeah, so that basically teaches me not to play. Even though we preloaded these other ones, I'm not going to play any of these. I might play the Metroid Dread. Yeah, I'm definitely going to play that. That's really long, and it's worth going to check it out yourselves. Metroid Dread from Nintendo's E3 presentation. Was really good. It looks awesome. I love the mechanic they created to increase dread in players. There is effectively some robot or a bunch of robots that chase you in this game. It's a 2D platformer and first sequel, apparently direct sequel to the storyline of Metroid in 19 years. And these robots that chase you through, it's just one of many adversaries that you could experience in the game, and they listen for you, and if you make a noise in front of them, then they look for you, and if they make eye contact, if they have visual contact with you, then they chase you really quickly. Your weapons don't work on them, and they will most likely kill you. So there's a sneaking and being quiet and hiding. You have to hide behind objects and don't make noises if you are hiding. And there's a little bit of like a camouflage effect, but the important thing is it actually does build. I think will successfully build dread in the player, and I love that concept because Metroid isn't really like a horror game, right? Even if it's got like really horrible aliens and bullet hellness, like it's. So I think that's a really cool mechanic.
Yeah, and it's also a back to the platforming stuff that it was before, because we've had a few kind of first-person shooters. That's not the best terminology for them, as they're not really, because when you think of that, you think of more Call of Duty, Halo-esque games, and they're more adventures, I guess, than in a first-person perspective with platforming and everything else, than just shooting things.
Yeah, they play around with the in other games, but in this one, they're looking like they're going back to the core of a platformer, and I appreciate it because I'm, like I said several times throughout this show, very old. All right, do you have another one you want to go through?
I'm happy, but this is just a personal thing for me. Is there's Psychonauts is getting a sequel. I thought I was the only person that remembered that game. Was the weird kind of kitschy artsy fartsy platformer on the original Xbox, like, is finally getting a sequel after like a couple decades.
I feel like I know about that game, but it may just be because you don't shut up about it. That could be that could be it. I may be misrepresenting how famed it is. Yeah, that's cool. There was a lot of sequel news and a lot of like updates to older games on the C3.
Like we were saying before, there's a lot of ports they were announcing. Everything's getting like everything's coming out on the Switch. Like Danganronpa trilogy on the Switch, like Skyward Swords on the Switch, like a bunch of like a lot of stuff just coming out. Like, and like then there's updates and stuff like Hitman 3 has a DLC or something other rather that it's coming out. A few other things with DLCs. It's not as bombastic as I would have thought E3 would have been.
I think it makes sense. There's a global chip shortage. So in terms of hardware, you don't want to do stuff. I think maybe people are a little, and in terms of expense, I think people are a little hesitant to like dip in and buy new systems, new hardware. I know that PlayStation 5, there's a run on it and etc. But like it's a harder sell after the this global pandemic than maybe hey, you know that equipment you already own? Well, we're going to port new stuff to it because you need more entertainment, right? You need more entertainment. So I guess it kind of makes sense. At least that's what people would have been working on for the last year or 2 years. I can't remember if there was an E3 last year in 2020, or is that the one that they skip one? I can't remember. I really just blanked. I think they skipped.
I don't remember if there was one. So
we have a guest
there was,
who can answer that question, who literally came in, is the one who could answer that question. Was there an E3 in 2020, James?
There was not. They did it online like this.
Okay,
there was no physical E3 in 2020. They did an online thing, but it was like less organized than this because it was more thrown together. Sorry, better late than never. I needed, so I arrived.
100% gonna remove you from the stream now because that's all we needed you to ask. Thank you, James, for coming in. No, I'm sorry. Hi, James. How are you doing? Yeah, we're wrapping up, but like that was a good that was a perfect time to come in. So, what did you have any things? Did you even notice? Did you hear anything from E3 because you've been gallivanting and doing your job and being a bon vivant?
So I actually crazy story. So I paid a lot of attention to E3 this year because I participate in a fantasy video game league.
Wow.
Yeah.
How are you confused by this?
But I mean, I know I'm participating in it, but I'm still kind of getting the hang of it. Actually, one of my coworkers' boyfriends like built the site and did the thing, and it's very popular. But so I was watching to see if I threw out a Hail Mary that this year we were going to see Mario Kart 9 or the next Mario Kart as like my big bet, which is a wild bet because it's not even a game that anyone's even announced. It's just a vicious rumor. So I was waiting for that announcement. Well, the other coworker who's competing in it with me was waiting for this year's announcement of Breath of the Wild 2. Turns out we're both screwed because Breath of the Wild will come out next year and no Mario Kart 9. So
yeah. Good.
I'm not doing well.
That is the coughing and then saying I'm not doing well.
No.
I'm not doing well. I've been selling my blood to compete in this fantasy video game league. Yes. So, all right, cool, good. Was there any piece of news? We talked about Breath of the Wild. We talked about what else did we just talk about?
Dread. We mentioned a few. We mentioned the this is a lot of sequels and ports kind of deal for E3 this year.
But speaking of sequels and ports, I am really excited about the port remaster of Advanced Wars. That was
I saw that.
I loved on the GBA. Intelligence systems that I think is going to be a lot of fun. Otherwise, I think it's hard. I think any new game in development, was really hurt by COVID. Everything. Thor Ragnarok. God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Zero Dawn Forbidden West, Zelda, these like really big games, combination, I think, of the pandemic and the really like for once, like actual negative press and negative reward for Project Red has kind of like hopefully taught video game companies a little bit of a lesson about trying to push that sort of thing. And
hopefully, fingers crossed, this time I learned my lesson. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I agree. We talked about it. We brought up chip shortage and all sorts of magical nonsense that we just pulled out of our hat as the reason for things being different. I want to talk a little bit about the Nintendo, because I said that the Switch was amazing, and there was lots of rumors that Nintendo Switch Pro, which isn't even the official name, if it's even being worked on, the 4K version of the Nintendo Switch. Did not get premiered. What does that mean? Is the sky falling? And I think, as we've talked about several times on this podcast already, and as everybody else in the world has said, I don't think Nintendo's really that interested in E3, especially that as a hardware reveal convention. So thank you for your questions, but I don't think that's an issue. I don't think it's a big thing, if it even exists, which I guess it probably might. Do you think it exists? We'll ask that. Well, I'll rephrase the question asked in our chat. Do you think there is a Nintendo Switch Pro, or something equivalent being worked on?
Could be.
That's not an answer. Of course it could be.
I think it seems likely, just because of the weird sort of off generation in which Nintendo is. The Switch has a lot of life left.
Oh, yeah.
Nintendo could ride the Switch out for easily another 2 to 4 years, just because Nintendo doesn't, as we've kind of said, doesn't rely on hardware to sell its systems as compared to like Xbox and Sony, which is like big selling point.
Yeah.
240 hertz, but I think doing some sort of refresh will, even if it's just another, a Pro, but like a re-release of the original hardware, making some adaptions and changes and potential small upgrades to it makes sense, right? Sony does it, Microsoft does it, everybody does it.
Yeah, in the world of ports, people are complaining that whatever Switch games they're getting, they're supposed to be in 4K or not. So I could see I'm hesitant. I don't think they're going to make a huge deal of it. But I think it will be released, and then they're going to say, this is the equivalent of the Switch Lite. Like it's another variation, a few $100 more, and you get this other version. But I think they'll still be producing the Switch, because it's hard to keep them on the shelves, apparently.
Well, and because Nintendo wants to make sure the ecosystem stays fluid, right? They're not going to be able to turn around and say, but Hyrule Warriors 6 can only run on the Switch 4K. It can't run on the Switch or Switch Lite, because those are still viable ecosystems for them. So yeah, I think whatever changes they make will not be significant enough,
Mm-hmm. I like the way Al completely left his frame, came back. So we have really only one more thing left to talk about, and we're only going to talk about this one thing. So we need you to vote right now. Viewers, vote. Are we going to talk about Avatar or Evil Dead? Comments. Say Avatar or Evil Dead in the comments, wherever you are, YouTube, Facebook.
Are we talking about the video games?
Yes.
Yeah, we're talking about video games. Actually, it may make more sense that we talk about the movies. But you know what? I think Evil Dead. Here's the thing: the Evil Dead remake happened more closer to our timeline than the Avatar movie did. Isn't that like, doesn't that blow your mind away?
Yeah.
But Avatar, we're getting 12 more Avatars, Frank, so they're still relevant.
I don't. All right. Well, let's comment, decide right now. All right, there's a little bit of a delay, so we'll let the delay happen. Is it going to be Avatar or Evil Dead? Which one are we going to talk about? I'm going to count up all the comments on all channels. You on Facebook.
Oh, I hope it's Evil Dead.
And YouTube. Okay. All right. You people are worthless. Dead heat. So, do we want to stick with one, or do we cover both because of our terrible fans?
I mean, I don't feel strongly about either.
Yeah, I'm gonna. You know what? Everybody only says one thing about one game. All right, I'm gonna speak about Avatar. The trailer release for the Avatar game looks a lot like the movie. I don't know if that's a selling point or not. I don't know what happened to America back in 2000 or the world. I don't know how. I guess it was a worldwide hit. I don't know what happened. I think there was something in the water. I think people were high, and I think they were just like entranced by the film. I hope the game does it as well. I do not believe there are any other movies that are coming out until I see them. I do not believe these movies are coming out. What the hell is that world in Disney Animal Kingdom about? I don't get it. I do get it. I know where it came from, but I just don't want to get it. That's it. And that's all I'm going to say. Al, I guess you want to only talk about Evil Dead.
Yeah, I think it's a really nice, like Dead by Daylight clone, essentially, which I'm fine with. I think that there's plenty of meat to gnaw in that type of gameplay. And it looks pretty interesting. I like that you can just have any of the Evil Dead characters from the show and either of the films that let's see, all four of the films, because you have like the trilogy and then the remake.
Yeah, I guess, and maybe
so
the TV show.
Yeah, so you can have a couple characters from that, and also from the television show, and a number of Deadites from those franchises as well. And the reveal of the evil Ash at the end was pretty funny. So I'm into this. I like it.
Good. I can't say anything about it for or against because I said I wouldn't. James, I'm gonna
sandwich you in, Frank, with more talk about Avatar. Look, I think the Avatar game looks beautiful. I'm going to tell you, the Avatar universe seems like a weird video game from the beginning, right? Like if you came to me and said, hey, we made this video game. It's basically Dances with Wolves, but with blue people. James Cameron consulted. It's going to be amazing. To be like, yeah, that's something people are definitely shelling at E3 that they think is going to be popular, as compared to, maybe a box office smash hit that it apparently was. I don't know. I saw it twice.
All right. Well, I guess maybe tickets were much more expensive back then. What were gas prices?
They were 3D.
There's got to be a reason that explains it.
Those 3D tickets, man, one of the first big movies. Very expensive.
But it's not even
video game. Probably not in 3D because that went out. We don't do that anymore.
Yeah, we don't do that anymore. We gave up on that. I feel like there's a lot to unpack on all of this. There's something about Avatar that leaks into a role-playing game, right? Because you're pretending to be Sully, maybe is his name. I only know because somebody made fun of it recently and said that they knew the character's name and that's all they knew. The main white guy who becomes the main blue guy. You are pretending to be him, and then he is pretending to be a blue guy. There's like this is almost what was that in Rick and Morty? Dave the game. It's close. We're getting there. We're achieving peak Daveness. All right. So thank you all for making this possible. I'm gonna show a list of names who are responsible. Thank you, patrons, for doing this to us. We really love you and all the support. If you'd like to support the show, go to patreon.com/nonpro. I can't wait to find out more about Bonus Round, the super secret the super secret video game podcast that Al is developing with a group of jerks, really. And James, what are you working on? Let me pull up end theme music because I'm not really listening to you right now.
I'm working